Anger lasts a moment. What it destroys can last a lifetime. Valmiki called it the enemy of life itself. Here is how to disarm it. In the Ramayana, Rishi Valmiki writes that anger is the enemy of life and the road to destruction, not a flaw, not a weakness, an enemy. This film draws on an essay from Akhand Jyoti, summarizing the guidance of Puja Gurudev. He calls it a terrible poison. And the reason it reaches almost everyone is simple. Not everything in life goes the way we want it to. A business loss, a humiliation, even the slightest rejection, and something in us catches fire. In anger, we lose our integrity. The mind that was reasonable a moment ago becomes capable of things it would never otherwise consider. This is why the texts do not treat anger as a mood. They treat it as a state of temporary madness. A moment of anger becomes a curse for a lifetime. That is the line worth sitting with. The anger passes in 90 seconds. The consequence can outlive it by 40 years. There is no mercy in anger. There is no compassion in it. Anger does not create anything, it only destroys. It is an imbalance, a cruel thought, a form of madness. And the texts call it the door to hell. And every one of us knows the silence that follows. The room after the shouting stops. The apology that arrives too late to undo what the words already did. We tell ourselves it was the pressure, or the provocation, or that we were pushed too far. But the person who was standing in front of us remembers only what was said. So, where does it come from? The Gita gives an answer that is almost uncomfortably simple. Anger is born from the non fulfillment of desire. When a person wants everything to move according to his wishes and something stands in the way of that, anger rises. Not because the obstacle is unjust, only because it is an obstacle. Which means most of our anger is not about the event at all. It is about the gap between what we expected and what actually happened. Shrink that gap, and the fuel disappears. Everyone likes a smiling face. It impresses everyone it meets. However wealthy, however scholarly, however senior a person becomes, if his conduct is not sweet and humble, he is not regarded as civilized. If he loses his temper over trivial matters, gets irritated easily, and out of arrogance humiliates those who work under him, people stop being happy around him. He becomes an object of quiet condemnation. And condemnation of that kind is never announced. It simply settles over a person, and everyone can feel it except him. Ayurveda goes further than the moral argument. It calls anger the father of many diseases, and it describes, in physical terms, exactly what a fit of rage does to a body. Rationality drops, bile becomes more profuse, the mouth and the eyes redden, the lips begin to tremble, the fists close, the throat goes dry, and blood pressure climbs. The face distorts. Anger becomes visible in the eyes, in the nose, in every line of the expression. Words come out of the mouth that the person would not have chosen and cannot take back. The body starts burning with the rapid flow of blood. The hands and legs shake. The hair on the skin stands on end. And Ayurveda holds that the toxicity this generates is most dangerous of all for the digestive system. When the passion of anger rises fully, a person reaches what the essay calls a semi neurotic state. Decision making collapses, behavior turns strange. Watch closely, and you can see how near to madness a person in that condition really stands. Because of excessive anger, the brain begins to overheat. And if it is not cold, the essay says plainly a situation arises in which cruel acts become possible. Anger leads to loss in every sphere of life, not dramatic loss, ordinary loss. The colleague who stops offering ideas, the child who stops coming into the room. Children learn faster than we would like. A child in a house where anger is normal does not learn that anger is wrong. She learns when to disappear. A Western scholar put it in one sentence: anger extinguishes the lamp of the mind. Everything you know, everything you have learned, every good instinct you have, none of it is available to you while that lamp is out. So, what do we actually do? Anger is a normal human emotion and usually a healthy one. The problem is not that it exists. The problem begins when it goes out of control and turns destructive. What follows is the practical guidance Pujya Gurudev gave. First, when some event or some person disturbs you, take a few moments to think before you speak. That is the whole instruction. Not suppress, not swallow, just delay. And notice what the pause does for the other person. It gives them the same few moments to gather themselves. The silence is not empty, it is doing work on both sides of the table. Then, once your thoughts are clear, express the frustration assertively but without aggression. State your concerns and your needs clearly and directly without wounding the person in front of you. Assertive and aggressive are not the same word. Second, take a few deep breaths. If you can, do pranayam. It directly reduces the stress that is driving the reaction. This is not metaphor. It is the fastest lever available to you in the moment. Physical activity works on the same system. A brisk walk, a run, anything that lets the body finish what the anger started instead of leaving it circulating with nowhere to go. Anger prepares the body to act. If no action follows, that preparation does not simply dissolve, it sits in the system and waits. Third, in that calm state, identify the possible solution to the problem. And here is the hard instruction. Instead of criticizing or blaming others for the situation, start searching your own soul. Learn to be respectful to others. Darkness cannot expel darkness. Only light can do that. You cannot answer someone's anger with your own and expect the room to get brighter. So learn to stay positive and to forgive the other person and yourself. Both halves matter. That act settles both sides and it strengthens the relationship rather than merely repairing it. Finally, restructure yourself cognitively. Change the way you think. When you are angry, your thinking turns aggressive and dramatic. Practice replacing those irrational thoughts with rational ones and practice it daily, even when nothing is wrong. That last point is the one most people skip. You cannot learn to steer in a storm. The practice belongs to the calm days, so that the skill is already there on the day you need it. Nobody has ever become patient during an argument. Patience is assembled quietly on the days when nothing at all is going wrong, and then spent on the days when everything is. There is no sin like anger, and there is no enemy like anger. It is the root of all misfortune. But it is not a fixed part of anyone's character. It is a habit. And habits are built and unbuilt the same way, one paused moment at a time. Buddha said it simply: no matter how hard the past, you can always begin again. This film was drawn from the essay How to Control Anger in Akhand Jyoti, January to February 2022, summarizing the guidance of Pujya Gurudev, Pandit Sriram Sharma Acharya.